Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we are making the ultimate new and returning player guide for Destiny 2, just in time for the Witch Queen. I've seen a lot of people who are either joining in for the first time, coming back from an extended break, or trying to introduce new friends to the game who are struggling to pick up some portions of it. So this video is going to be a one-stop shop to help you out. I won't be going deep into any particular topic here. This is more going to be a rapid-fire, brief overview about each of the absolute necessities that you will want to understand to get started in Destiny 2. There are three different character classes in Destiny. These are Warlock, Titan, and Hunter. All of these classes play a bit differently with different jumps, abilities, and even a few class-specific weapons. There's no wrong answer for what class you should play, and many players will end up making all three classes eventually, so don't feel too much pressure about picking the quote-unquote best one right away. Each class has 4 subclasses, each with unique abilities. Void, Arc, and Solar subclasses all have a similar feel with options to choose your type of class ability, grenade, jump, and type of super, with a few additional ability modifications. Stasis, on the other hand, has a different UI and has a lot more room for individual playstyle modifications. The main difference here is going to be the aspects and fragments that you can mix and match as you unlock them. These are unlockable through quests and bounties from Elsie, aka the Exostranger on Europa, after completing the Beyond Light campaign, and Stasis as a whole actually requires owning the Beyond Light expansion. When the Witch Queen launches, Void is also going to have this updated UI and abilities to be very close to what Stasis is currently, with Arc and Solar changes coming later this year as well. One thing I find a lot of confusion about is expansions and what content comes from what expansion. Each expansion has its own exotics and some content that comes with it, and I'm going to go over some of the high points for each one here. The Forsaken pack comes with the first ever dungeon in Destiny, Shattered Throne, as well as the Last Wish raid. Shadowkeep also comes with a dungeon and raid, that being the Pit of Heresy dungeon and the Garden of Salvation raid. It also comes with its own suite of exotic quests, as well as the Shadowkeep campaign. Beyond Light has the Deepstone Crypt raid, as well as the Beyond Light campaign, as well as assorted exotic quests. The 30th Anniversary pack comes with a bunch of cosmetic content, as well as the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. Witch Queen is our newest expansion, which we don't know exactly everything that's going to come with it, but we know that there's going to be a new raid, as well as the campaign, and multiple exotic quests. The Deluxe Edition will give you everything the Witch Queen does, plus all 4 seasons that come after, so basically the entire year of content. And not only that, but we are also going to be getting an additional 2 dungeons throughout the year, and that will come in the Deluxe Edition as well. And then finally we have the Witch Queen Deluxe and 30th Anniversary bundle, which just combines the Witch Queen Deluxe and 30th Anniversary content. Basically, if you're someone who likes difficult content, such as dungeons and raids, these expansions are definitely worth going ahead and grabbing. A really basic and common question I hear asked often is, what do I do? As in, what is the goal of the game? This is a question that is really best answered by you, the player, as the goal should be to enjoy yourself and just enjoy the game. However, if taken to mean, how do I get stronger and earn progression in the game, there are 4 main ways to do that: gear leveling, weapon rolls, armor rolls, and mods. The first way to get stronger is through gear levels. Every Guardian has 8 gear pieces that have a level attached to them, 3 weapons, and 5 armor pieces. The average of these 8 gear pieces is your overall gear level. You can increase your gear level by getting higher level pieces in each gear slot. What confuses a lot of people, though, is that there are different tiers of leveling. I'm going to break it down as simply and quickly as possible. You start the game at 1100 power, which will be up to 1350 as of Witch Queen, and can reach the soft cap by doing anything in the game. During this time, you should easily and consistently get levels pretty much non-stop. The current soft cap is 1270, which will be bumped up to 1500 in Witch Queen, and is the place where a lot of new players can get confused on why they're not leveling further. This is because you are now in the powerful gear band of leveling. From here, you need to do drops that are specifically labeled powerful gear or pinnacle gear, which I'll get to in a second, in order to level. There are a number of somewhat hidden drops as well that the game doesn't do a super great job of labeling, so I'll go ahead and link my detailed guide to leveling down in the description if you'd like to get into some of the nitty-gritty. Lastly, once you reach the powerful cap, which is currently 1320 and will be bumped up to 1550 in Witch Queen, you're going to need to get drops labeled Pinnacle Gear in order to get to the max level of 1330, which goes up to 1560 in Witch Queen. These activities tend to be considered endgame activities, such as the most current raid and dungeon, as well as things like Iron Banner and Trials. Again, the video link below takes a deep dive into these drops if you'd like to know more, but these basics should be more than enough to get you started. Another huge part of the game and the strength of your character is in weapons and weapon rolls. There are multiple rarities of weapon rolls in Destiny, but really the only ones that matter are legendaries and exotics. Unlike other games, the rarity, especially of legendaries, isn't in getting one, but rather in getting the right roll on the weapon that you want. When it comes to weapon rolls, there's so much that is dependent on playstyle and where you intend to use the weapons that goes into your best possible roll. I'm going to break it down into 2 simple tips that can give you a bit of a baseline to work with. My first tip is to not be afraid to use outside resources to know what potential rolls are out there. LightGG is an outstanding resource where you can find every weapon along with every potential roll those weapons can have. When it comes to determining solid rolls, at least for the PvE side, my super simple 1-sentence breakdown is look for a combination of damage and reload on your weapons. Going all the way back to the early days of Destiny, Outlaw and Rampage was a highly sought after combination. But even with many other perks in the fold, damage and reload still tends to really take the cake. Whether it be Reconstruction, Autoloading Holster, Demolitionist, Subsistence, Firefly, or Triple Tap, just to name a few, paired with things like Rampage, Kill Clip, Frenzy, Vorpal Weapon, Explosive Payload, Firing Line, or Lasting Impression, these perks tend to be some of the most sought after on weapons, and are at the very least pretty much never bad. And with weapon crafting coming in Witch Queen, there's bound to be even more interesting perk combinations inbound. When it comes to exotic weapons, in almost all cases, these have static rolls. For example, all Anarchies in the game have the exact same roll. There are 2 exotics currently that have random rolls, which are Hawkmoon and Deadman's Tale, but these are the outliers. There are also catalysts for certain exotics, which give extra bonuses and tend to make those exotics quite a bit stronger than their base strength. These catalysts come from different sources and need to also be leveled through various means once acquired, such as getting kills with that specific weapon. When it comes to armor rolls, there are 6 stats possible on all armor pieces: Mobility, Resilience, Recovery, Discipline, Intellect, and Strength. There's many different ways to build and potentially go, but my easy early game breakdown when there's a lot to figure out and learn is as follows. Recovery is the main stat that all classes will want to focus on. The quicker health regen when taking damage is super strong and helpful in all facets of the game. Outside of that, each class has a stat that is attached to their class ability: Mobility for Hunters, Resilience for Titans, and Recovery for Warlocks. Each of these stats is therefore something you want to prioritize more for each of those individual classes. For individual armor rolls and thinking about whether or not to keep one, I usually like to look for armor pieces that have 2 stats that are 20 or higher, or 1 single stat that is 25 or higher. On top of that, if the total stats of the armor piece is also 60 or higher, it is definitely worth keeping long term. Armor pieces with these stat distributions may be difficult to come by early game though, so lowering your expectations a bit may be necessary. Finally, we have mods. Mods come in 2 forms: weapon mods and armor mods. These mods come from a variety of different sources. Some come along with legendary drops in the world, some are raid specific, and many others come from the Gunsmith and Ada in the Tower. If you're a newer player missing many of these mods, I'd highly recommend checking both Banshee and Ada as often as possible, as their mod inventory rotates daily, and is, especially in the case of Ada's mods, the only way to unlock some extremely powerful mods. For weapon mods, there's also Adept mods, which come from Trials of Osiris, Grandmaster Nightfalls, and Master Raids and Dungeons. In other words, these come from the super endgame content. These mods also can only be equipped on Adept or Time Lost weapons, which come from these same sources. These Adept mods are usually slightly better versions of existing mods, and give a little bit of extra oomph to your loadout when succeeding in the most difficult content the game has to offer. Mods and the builds that come with them can definitely get into a lot more detail than what the purpose of this guide is for, but for a few extremely powerful and easy to benefit from mods to be on the lookout for are Powerful Friends, Radiant Light, and Protective Light, especially when combined with taking charge. I hope this guide helped answer some of your basic questions and helps you to continue your journey in Destiny. If you have any questions you'd like answered, please feel free to ask in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them, or maybe even make a video on it if it feels like something that would fit that format better. And as always, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.